Okay, hi guys. Yeah, I think we're live now. Yeah, I think we're all live. Just checking everything is okay. Yeah, we're all good. Yeah, of course, I had to do a live stream. I was kind of thinking about it today, and I saw that the Pioneer new CDJ dropped, and I thought, I've just got to do a stream about it. I was going to do a whole video on it, and I've seen so many really good videos that have come up. We've got the digital DJ tips, done a great video on it. DJ Tech Tools have covered it. I'm sure there's a crossfader one, if not out already or on its way. But I thought I'd just do a quick stream, just to kind of go over exactly what has just launched, because the CDJ-3000 is the first CDJ we've had in a number of years. I can't remember when the Nexus were released, and I just thought it was a really cool thing. I've been waiting for this to come out for a while, and probably because I got a very sneak peek at it about a few months ago. Well, actually, it was a good few months ago, actually. But Pioneer were very, very kind enough to kind of show me the unit before it was going to get released, get my feedback on it, and see, you know, where it was going. So I've been kind of sitting on this information for quite a while. I've been really looking forward to seeing this unit come out and seeing, you know, what people think of it. So yeah, today's live stream, I kind of wanted to just go over, you know, have a look at this amazing bit of kit that Pioneer have just launched, go over some of the features, look at some of the features. I also want to hear your kind of feedback as well, your comments and what you think of it as well. So join me in the live chat. I'm going to be looking at the live chat just to make sure, you know, everything's going okay. I can see Lance is in there. We've got Valentin, also Awkward Squad Project. Sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So I'm trying to get these the comments working all right. So yeah, so if you want to ask any questions or anything else like that, jump in the comments. If you've got anything you want to say about the product as well, I really want to hear that as well. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. If you haven't seen it already, I don't know, you know, I'm sure if you're into DJ equipment, then you must have already seen this pop up already. The CDJ-3000 is like the latest iteration of the CDJ range. The most puzzling thing straight away, obviously we're mentioning the name CDJ-3000, it doesn't actually have CDs in it. There's no CD player built into it, but it's still called the CDJ, probably because that is the legacy brand. That is the top of the range player that Pioneer produce. And I'm going to go into this a bit later, because there's been a whole load of kind of talk about, I guess, some of the features, the price point and things like that, and how it compares to Denon. So I'm going to go into that a little bit later, but I thought first of all, let's kind of look through and actually have a look at this, you know, the product and what it's got in it, all the different features, because it has got some amazing stuff built into it. We'll go into the video in a second. They're kind of pulling out, it's weird, I was looking through this product page and they're pulling out some of really kind of odd stuff, like not headline features, like for example the smoothest ever jog wheel. Yes, of course that is important, but it's like one of the first things they mention on here, which is crazy. Some of the I think the biggest feature probably is that massive screen. That screen is just absolutely huge, and obviously a big bone of contention are those kind of hot cues that appear along the top of the unit. That's causing a lot of fuss. That's causing a lot of people to kind of, you know, get a bit angry about. That seems to be the most anger that's coming from those hot cues. And yeah, I want to go over that again a bit later. I think I've got a few ideas for that and why that is so, and yeah, and yeah, what it's all about. But I think first of all, let's have a look through the video and kind of really tear that apart and have a look at, you know, literally just what was released, because it's a cool video. So let's step through it and have a look, see what they've got within here. I'm going to mute it actually, because I'm sure there's some track in there that's going to get me a copyright strike. So yeah, as always, this is the kind of teaser that we first saw, these kind of little glimpses of what it is. And then, of course, we have the full unit in all its glory. It really does look nice when it's all kind of lit up like that. And instantly you can kind of see those hot cues just shine away. In fact, those hot cues make me think of more kind of door controllers like the Ableton Push and things like that. It really has that kind of feature to it. Now, I say I've had hands-on with this unit, and I think actually when I had hands-on of it, it might have been a plastic shell. So the metal shell, as we can see there, which is kind of, it's got this kind of brushed metal look to it from this kind of angle. Yeah, I only kind of saw the plastic prototype, so maybe they kind of, or maybe it was metal at the time. I can't really remember. I only had about 5-10 minutes with it just to have a play around with it. But yeah, it looks so good, and that screen just takes over everything. Just look at that screen. Zoom in. Can we zoom in? No, we can't zoom in. That's so annoying. Yeah, that screen is just huge, isn't it? It's just amazing. Let's play it through a bit more. So yeah, and of course we kind of saw this kind of jog wheel with the digital display in the middle of the jog wheel. That's already kind of come along in some of their controllers, so we kind of knew that was kind of coming anyway. And you know, I think a lot of this stuff has kind of been tested almost in controllers. So the CDJ range have kept very kind of standard for quite a while, and now they're kind of taking some of the bits that would kind of prove to be very popular within the controllers, and I think that's why a lot of this is what we're seeing within here. So what do we look at first? I've watched this video back a few times, and I do really still love it. It just gives you so much hype from it. Now, obviously, they kind of go on about like the internals first. That's usually the first thing you always talk about. Even when there's like a new Mac launch or Apple launch, they always go on about the CPUs and stuff. And obviously, the CPU that's inside it is really important, because at times, yes, the CDJs can be a bit sluggish. So obviously, with all this new technology, big, huge screen and all this stuff that's going on, it's kind of good that there are some, you know, some good stuff that's kind of powering that. And obviously, it is. Yeah, it's all about handling those big digital files and everything that you're doing with it. I mean, crazy, isn't it? It's just so cool. Key sync. Now, key sync was one of those features when I first saw this unit, when I first played with it, that's what made me jump out of my skin. Now, for some people, that doesn't really matter. The whole key thing doesn't matter. There will be some DJs that swear by mixing in key, and some that just do it, you know, through just feeling it. But for me, the key sync is important because I play with the DJS-1000, and generally if I'm kind of making a track or playing out a track with the DJS-1000, I'll probably know what key that is in by the notes that I'm playing and the samples that I'm playing. So then being able to pick a cappella from one of the other decks, the CDJ deck, for example, the 3000, I can then match the key of that a cappella with the samples that I'm playing from the DJS-1000. That's why I think the key sync is a really cool feature, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, that was kind of one of the features that really kind of got to me. And as you kind of see in the video here, the key shift, being able to kind of switch to key shift is just so cool. You can see down the right hand corner here. Yeah, just use the display to kind of shift that key. It's so cool. It's such a cool feature. And I think I'm going to be using that quite a lot with acapellas, I think. What else have we got in there? Loads of glossy shots. I love this kind of B-roll kind of stuff. It just makes it look so nice. Actually, we've gone back to the start. We've gone back to the start. How do we go back to the start? Key sync. Yeah, the key sync's such a cool thing. I really love that. The gigabit Ethernet. So this is all about being able to play more than 4 players. So in the past, CDJs have been limited to 4 players that can all be linked together. Now it's up to 6 decks, which is really kind of cool. However, that does mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know all the details about this, but that does mean it needs to be 6 CDJ-3000. So I'm wondering whether you can then build in, you know, a DJS-1000, or, you know, maybe have a few Nexuses in there as well. I don't know whether that'll work. Maybe if you put the Nexuses on 1, 2, and the DJS on 3, and then have 3000s on the other. I don't really know how that's going to work, to be honest, but I'm sure we'll see when people start putting it all in. The jog wheel, aluminium top plate. Their jog wheel was always so good to me. I've always loved the jog wheel. It is a bit scratchy sometimes. Obviously, the older the plate you have, it gets a bit scratchy, but there's something about it. And also having the jog adjust as well. Having that is a dream, because even when you've got an older player, you can kind of make it fit how you want it to kind of slide. So around the back, got that lockable power cable. if you are setting up yourself and you'll know how much of a pain in the ass it is when the power cables come out the back. It's a simple thing, but just I'm glad that they put it in there. That artwork, they've put that display on there so you can see the artwork of the track. That's what they sell it as. But as we know with all the other controllers of Pioneer, you can actually change that display and display something else on there. So I'm actually wondering whether that's possible within the settings. I haven't had a look in the settings, but I'm assuming you can probably change what's displayed on that jog wheel. So maybe some information about time, for example, or whatever. Just an extra screen to see some more information. I love that. I really think that's a good use of kind of space. They really do love the jog wheel. I mean, yeah, it's great that it has been redesigned. I can't really remember from the prototype what it felt like. And in fact, I think I saw an early-ish prototype, so maybe it was still the older style jog wheel. I really can't remember, honestly. My memory's terrible anyway. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing that. I mean, a lot of DJs have been saying about how great it is for scratching. James Abelia was saying about how amazing it is and kind of, how it just feels so much nicer. Also, as with we kind of saw with the V10 mixer, the Pioneer V10 mixer, all the audio is getting an upgrade. And I think this is the whole point of it. The CDJ-3000 is made to go with that V10. It just kind of works so nicely with it, keeping that high quality, well and working good. So yeah, I think it's amazing. That screen, it just stands out so much. I mean, look how much of the player it takes up. But I think that's a good thing. Honestly, I think that's a cool thing because for me, when I'm kind of DJing out, I'm not necessarily just blending two records together. I kind of like to edit stuff. So using loops, I kind of like to see all the information about the track. So I'm almost reworking, editing tracks like I would do in a DAW. Doing it live and having that screen, having all that information at your hand, it's just so cool. So yeah, it's just great that is all there and, there's just more space for that. It just looks huge, doesn't it? 9-inch touchscreen. I'm pretty sure that's the size of an iPad mini, actually, isn't it? I have an iPad mini here, and I think that's probably about the same size, isn't it? Can you imagine that? Actually, an iPad mini as the display. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first saw it, it did, obviously it strikes you, that big, huge screen. But as you can see in there, being able to see all that information about your tracks is amazing. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, you actually have a preview of the audio. Now in rekordbox, the software, we've been able to kind of click on that waveform preview and preview that track right there from the browser. And you can now do that within here as well, which is just so cool. And with the V10 as well, you can actually preview it almost on another channel. So yeah, it's crazy the way it's all rooted and everything and the way it works. It's just another level. It's so cool. Actually, let me check the chat. Is anybody in the chat? Let's quickly move over to chat, see how people are doing in the chat. So Fabrice, sorry, I can't say Fabrice. Sorry about that. Fabrice. You want to cover the center of the CDJ. Waveform preview is an amazing addition. I absolutely love it. I think that's just so cool. Honestly, the waveform preview and being able to kind of jog through it, just so cool. More information. It's just about having more information at your fingertips, and I think that's so crucial for it. Now you can see here, like this previewing here from the V10, you've got this kind of link button here, which allows you to then be able to preview even from a deck that's playing a track, which is really cool. So if you're even if you're if a DJ is playing two tracks at once, if you're playing in a duo, you can actually preview another track on one of those same decks through the mixer without stopping either of them playing, which is very, very cool. It's very, very cool, especially if you're in the middle. If you do have two tracks playing, you can't audition anymore. Maybe you've got two tracks that are nicely sitting together. Maybe you've got one looping or something like that. So you want to keep both of them in there, but you can actually go and listen to another track on top of that, which is crazy. It's really cool. And I'm guessing, yeah, it's all about having that V10 mixer. If you don't have the V10 mixer, then that might not work as well, unfortunately. Yeah, there we go. Then we've got the touch preview. That is just so cool, isn't it? Like, that is so cool. I love it. Absolutely love that touch preview. And this kind of being able to seek through the track. I mean, I know we've had that ribbon control for a while, which I've never liked kind of playing with anyway. Not a live track anyway, but the preview, certainly. stacked waveform. Again, it's another one of those things that we've seen in the controllers, and it was only a matter of time before we saw that. The improved waveform, again, it looks brilliant. You know, the new waveforms look really, they give you so much more information. Key sync, you know, again, it's one of those things, key sync could work really well. And as I mentioned, I really love the idea of shifting the key. Whether you want to always keep things in key, I don't know. I suppose it's up to you. I mean, sometimes a track might not have the same kind of feel if you shift it too much in key, but certainly when, as I said, when I'm playing a cappellas, that would be kind of cool to pitch up and down an a cappella without obviously, you know, keeping it in time. I think that's going to sound quite cool. I can't wait to see some of the demos that have been going on with this. There you go. There's the key shift. So literally being able to hit it and be able to go up and down in key. I mean, obviously pretty much not like that, I don't think. Oh, where is it? Trying to see so we can actually go back to it. Where's the key shift gone? We missed that. Oh, the 3-band waveform. There we go. Yeah, key sync. It just looks cool. I mean, I mean, in these demos, obviously Pioneer kind of throws everything at them. When I did the DJS-1000, DJS-1000, obviously I was trying to do so much with that bit of kit when I was doing it. But like here, you can kind of see like just being able to kind of adjust the key. You can see here you can put it down a key or up a key. You know, I think that's really cool. Being able to do that independent of the speed of it is certainly really cool, especially if you're using acapellas. I think it's going to be so cool for acapellas. Maybe for full tracks, but I think more for kind of DJ tools and things like that. I think that's where it's really going to shine. There's going to be some really cool demos on the way, I know that. So let's look at the hot cues. The hot cues are what everybody's kind of getting annoyed by, and particularly their location. And I can see where people are coming from. Obviously, you've got to lean over the jog dial to actually hit them. And yes, I suppose if you're not kind of precise, then you might knock the jog wheel. I suppose that there is an argument for that. But to be honest, I think you're kind of doing a different action with the hot cue. You're kind of pressing down like this. You're not kind of reaching across or doing anything like that. You're kind of reaching down and doing that. So I don't think you're necessarily going to touch the jog wheel. I didn't have enough time with the unit to really kind of make sure whether this would be an issue. But to be honest, I don't think so. They're quite far away from the jog wheel. You can see they're quite a bit away from the jog wheel, not miles. And I know it sounds like I'm just defending them because I'm a fanboy or whatever. But I honestly don't think it's going to be that bad. I know a lot of people kind of getting annoyed by it. I think possibly I would have preferred them at the bottom of the unit. I mean, that's where it is on all the controllers, and that works really well. But the whole argument apparently is because they know that some DJs kind of rest their arms or their wrists on the bottoms of the CDJs and then do the jog wheel. And obviously you don't necessarily want to catch the hot cues that way. And to be honest, I have quite often caught the hot cues on like the RX2, for example, the controller. I have hit those quite occasionally, and most of the time it's actually hitting a hot cue that I haven't set anyway, so it doesn't actually do anything. But if it is a hot cue that obviously is set, you've got no way of getting back from that. So yeah, I can understand that. I think that's the best location for it personally, but I know people are going to have their own opinions on that. I think it's quite cool. I think it works quite nicely. I also like the way that they light up in different colors as well. I think they look really nice. I know that was the thing of the Nexus 2s, but in this case, I think they look really cool. They do really look like as I say, like a door controller, the Ableton Push, for example. Dedicated beat jump buttons. Now, I don't know whether this is a feature that you use, but it's certainly something that I use. And you've always been able to do it from the screen. I think from the Nexus. I think it was in the Nexus. If not, it was definitely in the Nexus 2 that you can actually beat jump. And to be honest, I always use beat jump. I like to kind of, often when I'm kind of DJing in the middle of a set, sometimes I will want a quick mix. And those beat jumping, to be able to jump 4 bars, 8 bars, 12 bars or whatever into a track, it just makes for a tighter mix. And I think having those dedicated beat jump buttons are really cool. And I'm guessing, obviously, you've only got like a left and right here. So you've only got like 2 buttons here. So I imagine in the settings, you kind of choose what your favorite kind of beat jump length is. So mine would probably be 16 beats or something. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to play around with that bit. But that would be really handy for kind of skipping through a track quickly. And I know you're going to have people saying that software's been able to do that for ages, Traktor's been able to do that for ages, Serato's been able to do that for ages. It's easy to kind of build it into software, but actually having it into hardware is kind of, you know, it's not something you can just chuck in there. And as we said, this is legacy hardware. This is, the CDJs are almost an institution. So when Pioneer put a feature into one of these, it's not just this kind of light-hearted, oh yeah, we'll just chuck it in there. It's something that probably has been thought about for quite some time. So yeah, I'm really glad that that does have, there are dedicated buttons there for that. So yeah, as you can see, jumping, that demo isn't too good, just jumping between a little sample, but actually jumping through a track, really, really handy if you're trying to quick mix. They're getting so good with these kind of, these B-rolls, these kind of nice animation, the nice filming of the decks and stuff. It makes it look so cool. 4 and 8 beat loops. Yeah, I love the 4-beat loop. Adding an 8 one on there, really cool. I hope you can actually tweak that as well. Of course, integration with Rekordbox, and it's saying about integration with Beatport's link and streaming services, but obviously it doesn't stream from the deck because it doesn't have Wi-Fi built in, but it does go through a player or whatever, which is, you know, I think some people will be saying, oh, well, you know, the Denon deck can actually connect straight to the internet and do that separately. To be honest, I'd rather just keep it separate. I'd rather have all of my music on a drive or something that I can plug into a deck and it be ready. I don't know if I quite trust the streaming services in a club environment. You know what it's like. You turn up at a club and you can never quite be sure of how well the equipment's been kept. So yeah, that's kind of going through pretty much everything that was announced in that video. And as I say, I have had hands-on kind of playing around with this unit. And I have to say, yeah, it was like a kid at Christmas when I first saw it, because you're so used to those Nexus decks and where everything is and, you know, what everything does. And it was just the fact that there was just so many kind of new features, really subtle things, little tweaks. So it was still the deck that you know and love, but it's just more stuff in there. So like, yeah, I mean, let's just make this a little bit bigger so we can kind of see this. Yeah, so the hot cues, loving the hot cues. I think they look so cool. It was the key sync. I think the key sync is the big thing for me. That was the biggest feature I think that's kind of really come into this. Seems silly, but yeah, I think that's the biggest feature within here. So yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I love it. I think it looks really cool. So yeah, I'm really stoked about it. Can't wait to see it in clubs. So let's get on to like the issues and what people are kind of really talking about and the problems and stuff. We went over the hot cues and stuff. I think next up is kind of it versus Denon. And there's been a whole load of kind of talk about, oh, well, Denon's had this feature for a while and, you know, it's had the bigger screens. And people are saying, well, why didn't it get the dual deck like a Denon did? You know, why has it not got streaming straight to the deck? And I think like those things were definitely considered. And I think it's just not been right for the unit. So let's look at the dual deck thing, for example. The dual deck within a Denon deck allows you to play 2 tracks from the same deck. Now, that sounds great because that means you only need 2 decks to then, in theory, have 4. So you can play 4 tracks at a time. Now, this is good if you're at home. If you only have 2 decks at home and you want to just play that, or maybe you've got a very kind of compact setup, or maybe you're a mobile DJ and stuff, it does make a lot of sense to you. But if I'm in a club, I think I prefer actually 4 physical decks over 2 decks with 4 virtually. Because it does get a bit fidgety going between the 2. I was on Native Instruments for a while and I had their flagship, I think it was S4 or something. I can't remember the model of it. It was huge and it basically had the ability to switch between decks on each one of them. So it was essentially had 2 decks there and each one of them could play 2 tracks, but you had to press a button to flick between the 2 decks. Now, if you're sober and you're really concentrating, then it isn't too much of a problem. But if you're in the middle of a mix, or maybe you've had a few too many or whatever, which can be the case when you're playing out live, trying to keep track of which deck you're actually editing or which one you're kind of listening to or playing and which one's doing which, especially when there's 2 on the same deck, is a bit frustrating. And it's a bit kind of, I don't know. I'd much rather have two physical decks. And I think if you're going to be, we're talking about the CDJ-3000 as the top of the line player. This isn't necessarily made for home use. You've got the XDJ, you've got the CDJ-2000s that are still going to be for sale. The 3000 is purely a professional bit of kit. It's for the clubs, which of course aren't open at the moment. But, you know, hopefully when they are, this is going to be something you're going to see in most main club systems. It's not something you're going to have at home. And they're not, if they're going to be buying these for the club, they're not going to be thinking, you know, I need to kind of save money by just having two decks and then play, you know, two tracks virtually on them like they would with the Denons. They'd just be like, they'd want 4 physical decks because that's what most people put on their riders. I don't know too many DJs that would actually say, I prefer Denon. I'd rather have 2 Denons than I would have 4 Pioneer CDJs because, I don't know, for me, I like to know where everything is. If you see anybody that's kind of DJing with 4 decks, you know, they kind of know where everything is because the 4 decks are physical. I'm probably rambling on a little bit too much, but I honestly think that the dual deck thing works really well when you've got a consumer bit of technology, not a professional one, because a lot of professional DJs would rather have 2 physical decks than have one that has 2 not physical, digital, in the cloud. I don't know. But yeah, that's my kind of argument for it. And I think that's the whole point. And also, if you're kind of saying, you know, oh, well, the Denon's better, well, then get the Denon. If you really love the Denon. But the Pioneer have always done their own thing. And yes, you could say that some of these features are kind of borrowed or inspired from the Denon. But these are just things that people are asking for, what DJs are asking for. And then Pioneer can't just, you know, just ignore it and go off on a completely different tangent and come up with something different. If that's what DJs are asking for, that's what they're going to build into. And obviously they're not asking for the dual deck kind of stuff. Now, price-wise, obviously, these are a lot more expensive than the Denons. So the CDJs are, I think, around about just over £2,000. So £2,400, and I think it's about $3,000, $2,800, something about that. I can't remember what the actual prices are. I know I did look at it before, and I'm not going to go through that right now. But yeah, it's around about the mid 2000 mark, which is expensive. But then what else were we thinking? Like the Nexus decks are expensive. I think they were about 1900, and this has got a whole load more features. Of course, this is going to be more expensive. That's going to be the way it is. Yes, the Denon is a lot cheaper, and if price is your main concern, then you will go for the Denon. That's up to you. But Pioneer is just, you know, it's doing its own thing, and people will just buy it if that's what they want. You know, you could get a cheap Android phone if you wanted to, but so many people spend out loads of money on like an iPhone, and they get it for a reason, because they like the way it feels, they're used to it, they like what it does. It's just one of those things. It's just it's just about having your own kind of favorite brand or something that's familiar to you. And everybody's been brought up on, well, if you're certainly brought up through DJing in clubs, you'll always be around Pioneer equipment. I can't remember the last time I ever saw any Denon equipment in a club. So yeah, it's just the way it is. I'm afraid it's just the way it is. Let me jump into the chat, see how everybody's doing. So Fabrice says I don't think it's $4,000. I don't think it's $4,000. It might be $4,000 for a pair. I think it's for a pair, certainly. Makes it a little bit bigger. Yes, Priest says, yeah. No, I don't think it's $4,000. I think it's $4,000 for a pair, certainly. Which, it is what it is. That's what it's going to be. You know, it's Pioneer equipment. It is what it is. So yeah, I can't really say much more than that. It just is what it is. So yeah, I had to come on here and do a stream because I thought, well, you know, this is an important bit of a kit, and I can imagine myself, I'm going to be using this at some point. I haven't got it in the studio at the moment, as I mentioned in one of my last videos, my kind of tour of the studio. You know, I don't have that much room in here, so I don't have enough room for a full Nexus setup or whatever. I've got the XZ on its way, which will be the main kind of part of my studio, just because that just about fits in here. And I might get one of the 3000s just to kind of play around with it and to see kind of what I can do with it and kind of how it all works in kind of in place in the studio, in my kind of routines and my kind of setup, and see what it is. And as soon as I get in, of course, I'm going to do a full video on it of me going through it. But I definitely recommend checking out Digital DJ Tips. They've done a brilliant video going through all the different functions and everything else like that. So I just wanted to jump on and just give you my kind of opinion on what I kind of think of it. Definitely check out the Ability Kit if you can do. I think it's going to be an important part of Clubland. I reckon not necessarily this year, because obviously clubs are closed at the moment, but in the coming years, I can imagine this being, well, it's going to be on all the main DJ riders. So I think it's something you've got to get used to, and it's something that's going to be in a lot of clubs very, very soon. So yeah, hopefully this has been fun, useful, interesting. I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and shoot the shit and just chat with you guys. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. Hopefully I'll see you again very, very soon. I've got loads more stuff on my channel if you want to see any more kind of Pioneer stuff. Lots of CDJ-1000 videos, SP16, AS1. I've got a video coming up on the AS1 with some brand new patches. So yeah, definitely check over my channel on that. Get subscribed so you're notified as soon as I put out a new video, which I'm doing quite regularly. I've had a bit of time off recently because I've been doing a lot of kind of engineering work, and also putting together a brand new version of my website, abletonthemes.com, where you can download custom themes for Ableton. So yeah, I'm really, really busy at the moment, but I'm still trying to do these videos. I'm going to be doing another video, I think next week or the week after, on the DJS-1000 on a couple of little questions I've had along. So that'll be the next video coming up. But yeah, hopefully this video has been interesting, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.